Today, I want to give you my honest opinion on why I am bearish in MetaZoo right now for the remainder of 2022 and why I believe that things will not exactly be improving going into 2023. I am bullish in the long term. I'll explain why and when I think things might turn around to be a little bit more optimistic for the collectibles market as a whole, as well as MetaZoo as a part of that market. Now, in my last market update video, we saw some all-time lows since, at least that I've seen. I remember the MetaZoo Kickstarter Cryptid Nation booster box going above $10,000 at one point, and I saw a new low on Thanksgiving at around $3,200. Now, this box has been really on kind of a roller coaster ride. I bought mine at $2,000 and sold it at $5,300. And just a week or two later, it started to hit those like $6,000, $8,000, and then eventually broke the $10,000 market soon after that, before kind of going down a little bit from there and till we got to the prices we have today. Now, I think if you are, or I think a lot of people right now can understand the real bearishness we are in right now, the market conditions that we are facing. Buyers are saying higher prices due to inflation. And the collectibles market has really become something that, people used to spend because they had luxury spending money. And Umu, or formerly MTG Lion, has talked about this a little bit, that a lot of people were getting stimulus checks and different loans and things that they could afford to maybe gamble in some of these alternative asset classes. And he brings up, I think, cryptocurrency as another example of that, where sort of this excess money was being gambled into. And I think there may be some truth to that. It's a little bit of speculation, I think. Can't exactly know for sure. Things like crypto have other kinds of things that people believe in, like being a replacement for gold. And I think collectibles can sometimes be seen as an alternative asset class to something like gold as well. It's very complex, but in general, there was a lot more free money before compared to the way it is now. Both Rudy from Alpha Investments and Umu have talked about this, how money is more expensive now as a result of raising interest rates. It's harder to get loans on money, on cash, without getting a higher interest on that. And it's, if you're trying to get cash out with collectibles or stocks, both those markets are really a lot down right now, right? MetaZoo is kind of suffering from this. So we're seeing really suppressed prices, as we saw in my last eBay market update video. And I really don't feel like it's going to improve anytime soon. And here's the reason why. So we know the Fed is going to continue to increase rates. Inflation remains high compared to increases in wages. And we know that they're trying to tamper down inflation with these rate increases, but that means that money will remain expensive. And there isn't just going to be some magical new flow of money just coming into the Magic, Pokemon, and MetaZoo markets. Although, it is a little bit different once you get into specific categories. For example, there are certain areas in Pokemon that are doing well and in MTG that are doing well. But overall in MetaZoo, I think things are mostly pretty down. And although I'll say that even though the Kickstarter box is down to $3,200, I mean, that's still a lot of money for a Kickstarter box right now. Especially, I don't know, what was the MSRP on those, like $50 or something way back when. So, when you think about it that way, there is still some strength there. But compared to, breaking $10,000, coming back down to $3,200, and who knows if, how much lower it can go, but that kind of shows you just how much lower, how much worse things have been getting compared to where they just were pretty recently. And I think, it's kind of a weird experience because it's recent enough that we kind of remember those free Tendy days, but, we also have a very good understanding of how bad things are when you go to the grocery store, and are kind of seeing the collectibles market overall as well. Now, another reason that I don't think that things are really going to be improving anytime soon, I've been seeing some headlines and some news stories around like sky-high credit card debt, and also what I think is really, really something to watch are these buy now, pay later programs. Now, I'm going to be doing a whole video unto itself on buy now, pay later and my experience with that, as kind of like I guess you would call that like a finance bro video, or, well, if you're being critical about it, is it a reverse finance bro video? I don't know, but I'm going to be doing another video about that to kind of try to reach into a wider audience. But in the TCG space, this is relevant because you see things like on TCG Player, with PayPal, you can pay in 4 or pay maybe over a 12-month period, oftentimes 0% interest free, and which sounds good on the surface, right? 0% loan. The thing is, if you're going to be speculating in that way, there's no guarantee that over that span of time that you're making those payments, that you're going to be able to flip that thing or make the money back with some other thing that you have, some other collectible that you want to maybe trade for it, because prices are just so down across the board. And then a lot of cases too, it's not 0%. A lot of people might be relying on these because they don't have the money right now, but then they're also taking an interest charge for when they actually do pay those back. Affirm is a big one like that too. You can get 0% on that. However, if you start to use it too much, they will start, at least in my experience, to add interest charges to things that you're using that for. Now, in my own experience with these programs, they have never really been beneficial. I could see where they could work if you're able to, get something. Actually, my Kickstarter box is a good example of that. I used an Affirm loan to get that for $2,000, and I think there was an interest charge with that. But then I was able to get $5,300 out of that. So that was, a success. And that was a speculative play on my part as well. But there have definitely been times where I'm like, I just really want this thing. I know I can, I'll be able to get it in a couple weeks, be able to pay that off. I'm seeing a plan for that. And so I get it. And then the thing is, you might see something else within that span of time that you're still paying off that other thing. And then they kind of snowball, right? And, I know even the 0% stuff can look good if you're really smart and trying to be very calculating about it. But if a lot of people are like me, sometimes I don't perfectly schedule my finances, and maybe the day that, one of those payments is due, you've got other bills coming out as well, and then things kind of line up in a way that really kind of hurt your bank account. So I've really cooled on those. I would rather just put something on a credit card personally if I had to, even though there's an APR interest rate associated with that. Because, at the end of the day, they're going to oftentimes, unless you change your payment method or something, they're going to just like suck that money right out of your bank account or whatever payment. I think you can use a credit card sometimes too with the pay in 4. And then a lot of times you're not paying attention to it. At least with a credit card, I'm like, oh, I can't make this payment. I'm just going to make the minimum payment on my credit card this month. And get that, just take the interest charge and then just, not worry about it right now. Just kind of move on. So at least you have a little bit more control with a credit card, I think, in that aspect, than using these buy now, pay it later. Another thing that I've noticed too, I've seen some news about, even like Target retailers, like at the checkout, when you're buying groceries, you can use buy now, pay it later in some instances. And you have to imagine if a lot of people don't have money right now. I'm talking about doing this kind of stuff for things that I really don't need, right? For like a collectible or something. But a lot of from what I'm reading, some people are actually having to rely on buy now, pay it later at the cash register, at the checkout, for like basic necessities like groceries and things. And here's the really dangerous thing about it. If you don't have the money right now to pay for something, what about your life in this economic environment is going to change so that you can suddenly make up that payment 2 weeks from now and also not be in a position anymore where you have to continue to use these programs? I think for a lot of people, they are going to be programs that snowball them into increasing debt. And I think that those programs specifically are really going to hurt the economy because I think a lot of people are going to rely on them. I think a lot of people are maybe don't have the resistance at times to be able to say no to certain things because it is so convenient, right? And I think that's going to be really dangerous. And personally, I feel like they should not be allowed. Bring back layaway. Reserve the item, put down a down payment on it, pay for it over time, and then eventually you can get that item once it's paid off. Or you realize you're not going to be able to make those payments, and you say, "Hey, I can't do it. I need that money back." Take it off hold, put it back in your inventory. I think that's really a safer bet than this buy now, pay it later. Because a lot of people are, they're going to fall for that feeling of, I can just get this now. I'll find a way to make up the payments later, and it's just going to snowball. So watch out for those. If you're on TCG Player, if you're on eBay and you're getting these, options to pay in for or use Affirm or whatever other kind of programs are similar to that. I think there's like Sezzle and Klarna and all those things. Really be very careful with those. Avoid those. Honestly, credit cards are not great, especially if you're not going to be paying them off every month. But honestly, I think that's better to do than to try to rely on these programs. I think there's really a lot of negativity that's going to come from them that's going to hurt our economy overall. So with that being said, these things that I've been discussing, I think a lot of people are going to press through the holidays and leverage themselves. This is speculation. I'm not a finance person or anything like that, but this is just my speculation. I think a lot of people are going to push through the holidays to enjoy the holidays, and then there's going to be really a even harder tightening going into the new year, at least for a while. So I think best case scenario, if we see something more optimistic coming out of this, it's going to be going in later into 2023 once people kind of have learned their lesson. Like, I think a lot of people like me, looks good, pay, these afterpay programs or whatever, but so you take a hit from them and then you learn your lesson and you don't use them anymore, right? So I think a lot of those lessons still have to be learned, and it's going to take some time for that to happen. I think we're not going to be seeing things get tapered down in terms of inflation and rates no longer increasing and things, at least, later into 2023 and possibly even longer than that. I think that's best case scenario personally, if I had to guess. So how does that affect MetaZoo? I think we're going to continue to see suppressed prices with that. I would not be spending more than you can afford to lose on anything in the collectible space. And one point of positivity, I think I was looking at Pee-wee's video going over some spoilers of Native. I think that's going to be a tremendously strong set. The spoilers looked really good. And, he mentioned in an exchange I had with him on his spoiler video about that other TCGs have not really delved into indigenous culture like this, right? And so I think that's a really classy thing for MetaZoo to be able to come out and actually extend the TCG space into indigenous history and culture. I think that's a really important thing. And I'm sure they're going to do it right and do it respectfully. And I'm just really excited about that. And I think people are really going to enjoy that set and respect that set and are going to want to go after it. So I think it's going to be a strong set on its own terms. But be wary. I don't think it's going to outpace how much down pressure there is in the economy right now. So I don't anticipate that it's going to be any different actually than the drops we've been seeing in Wilderness, UFO, and Seance. I think it's going to come out at that 140 MSRP and we're going to see a big drop. That's my guess. And despite that, I think it's going to bottom out, especially at that 50,000, maybe the same price around Seances. And and people are going to like the set, but the economic conditions are going to keep prices low. So those are my honest thoughts on MetaZoo in the collectibles category overall for the rest of 2022 and going into 2023. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope things just go to the moon over Christmas. I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm always hopeful and try to be optimistic, but this is my best speculation on everything going on right now. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. You can watch that eBay market update video I was talking about with those recent lows right over here, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.